Respected members of the audience, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. We would begin with the recitation from the Holy Quran. I request the participants to please keep their phones on the silent mode.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن ينصركم الله فلا غالب لكم وإن
the feasibility of East-West Economic Corridor. So there was a lot of talk about North-South, CPEC, BRI. So we thought that perhaps a win-win formulation would be that a East-West Economic Corridor that links South Asia with Central Asia and West Asia, that also connects and complements rather than getting into an adversarial spat with those corridors. And this research was funded by Junaid Foundation, a Pakistani member of diaspora in United States, and Asia Pacific Center of RAND Corporation USA. The team which constituted the members of this research group includes myself, Khalid Hussain Chandio, Dr. Khurram Abbas, Amna Ijaz Rafi, Walid Yawar from IPRI. Dr. Rafiq Dosani is the project director from RAND Corporation. Zohan Hassan Tariq, Arun Kumar, and Simi Mehta from India. So the unique thing about this research study is that it included the countries that were hitherto not too keen about joining this East-West connectivity. We know that there are geopolitical tensions playing out, but once you plant a seed, every tree grows as a small seed. And who knows, in times to come, this idea is fructified in the shape of a corridor that ideally complements CPAC and other regional corridors like INSTC as well. Speaking of corridors, I'm very glad we have today the most active champion of this connectivity cause, Mr. Hassan Iqbal, who's been actively pursuing connectivity projects in the shape of CPAC, and his vision has translated into some active, tangible output in the shape of a working CPAC. And I'm sure this concept would also gain some traction in the policy making hub. Now, I'm also very glad to have my very good friend, His Excellency Kustapa Yazan. And I have not found a more vigorous champion of the idea of east-west connectivity in this region than him. And I think we owe a great deal to him. He's a live wire, and I always see him doing a great deal championing the cause of trade connectivity between Central Asia. Central Asia and Pakistan has a trade of around 500 million. And we have, in fact, a deficit of 48 million with CARs. But you see, as a least integrated region, there is a tremendous possibility of multiplying this thing, provided we are connected infrastructure-wise, digitally, culturally, and intellectually also. Now, speaking of corridors, in this study, the literature review clearly indicates, I'll not go into the details that the readers can read for themselves, but it's worth highlighting a few points that there are certain corridors which are very, very effective. Those have been implemented well, and there are certain commonalities why those were implemented well. There were good bilateral relations. There were no external powers interference into that. Access to capital was good. And then the security situation of those regions, those were propitious for this kind of corridor connectivity. We know Greater Mekong economic region called GEM-SUB. So that started, and for 15 years, it was just trade facilitation. And then the infrastructure actually started, and it was a success story. Then the next was our BRI and China, Laos, KVR is a success story, but it could not be extended to Thailand because of the US opposition. So there is a lesson for us also that great power consensus and their getting on board is also essential for success of these corridors. There are corridors like IMEEC proposed by India, multimodal connectivity corridor, but that is also not fructified because of geopolitical tensions in Middle East. So that is also, for the time being, a concept which has not been put in implementation mode from the concept mode onwards. We have example of INSTC also, Iran, Russia, and India, which has also not taken off the ground because of the tensions and the sanctions, essentially. And success story is the BRI, CPAC, and that is, there are certain commonalities which were identified by this research, and which I would recommend the readers to read very carefully and find out what those commonalities are. Perhaps we can all give traction to those concepts. When we speak of corridors, a corridor per se does not translate into prosperity. There's a study, Canning and Bentham, back in 2000, which indicates that there is a concept of social IRR. And they carried out analysis of connectivity projects in India and Pakistan. So they concluded that in India, the social IRR was 74%. In Pakistan, it was 54%. And when the cost of capital is less than the social IRR, the corridor becomes economical. And any corridor, maybe it starts as a transport corridor, but it will never translate into prosperity unless it is linked with the economic activities. Otherwise, there are many corridors in the world which are there for only resource extraction and result in resource curse, especially in the African countries. So I have a short tour de horizon before I allow Dr. Dosani to explain this research. This is the structure. It is structured in 7 chapters. The last chapter is summary of findings and recommendations. The research question was that what is the strategic plan that will make an East-West economic corridor a reality? And there were certain elements like its membership, who should be the members, what should be the objectives, what are the risks, what should be the governance mechanism to put it in reality, who should be the partners, infrastructure categories, action plan, and sequencing. The methodology was an expansive literature review, consultative interviews, and analysis of the primary data. Now, these consultative interviews comprised subject matter experts of 2 countries, India, Pakistan, and the likes of former federal ministers, federal secretaries, business experts. So those were all interviewed, and then the analysis was done and conclusions drawn. The main stakeholders, as given on the view foil, are policymakers, private industry, policy-focused think tanks, media, and civil society. So it was a fairly comprehensive coverage. The responses from 20 experts from each country from different categories were sought, and then analysis done and conclusions drawn. Now, a standard questionnaire was used to capture the quantitative and qualitative observations, and then purposive sampling technique was used. I'll not go into too much of detail of research methodology. You all are well aware. Instead of random sampling, purposive was resorted. So there were certain limitations which I'll just indicate. The logic model for developing strategic plan was based upon what assets, what is the importance of our geography, financial capability, and the history of bilateral relationships. Then objectives. Is it economic security? Is it frontier security, regional initiatives? Those conclusions were drawn. Who should be, what are the risks? Then very important, the governance structure for risk management. What kind of a governance structure should we have to ensure that this project in the long term goes through? And who should we partner with? Partner institutions like the ones which can provide us financial capital, AIIB, Asian Development Bank, and others. And those regional associations like SAARC and SCO, which could act as a model, maybe ASEAN. So all those were analyzed. And what should be the output? Should it be a transport corridor, energy one, industrial parks, other? Limitations. We are all cognizant of our limitations. Response bias of interviews, obviously, both observers and the interviewers. The representation limitation due to the purposive sampling. Cognitive bias because of each interviewer's particular bias coming from each country. Heterogeneity, obviously, that is all understand because they were from different segments. The recommendations. Now, a very quick recap. The study recommended that there should be an East-West Economic Corridor Association, EVCA, and this should have the authority to manage inter-regional relations, geopolitical tensions, access to international capital, great power relations with the regional members, and security issues. It should have the authority to manage project and settle disputes, and it should have an equitable governance structure to maintain equity, having one vote for each country regardless of its size, and base the decision making on consensus. The objective was to start with small trust confidence building measures. So this is what was a very broad overview. The first is this Aselia in Iran, Bandar Abbas, going all the way to Multan, New Delhi, Fazilka, New Delhi, and a strand going to Karachi. This comprises energy and road network. Then another variant could be from Bandar Abbas all the way along the coast to Karachi, including connecting Gwadar and our port, rail, road, plus energy corridor. Next is from Herat, Kandahar, and coming all the way in the middle of the Pakistan, going to Fazilka, New Delhi. And then linking with Kazakhstan, the Tengiz fields in Kazakhstan, and linking with Gulkunakh there in Turkmenistan. So Kazakhstan's gas, Turkmenistan's gas, linking Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. And this is yet another strand which is coming from Central Asian countries. You can see here Termiz, Jalalabad, Peshawar, and all the way to our Arabian seaports. And this comprises digital, rail, road, and also includes a Trans-Afghan railway corridor. So what are the inhibitors? Strained bilateral relations, unstable security situation, populist politics, which privileges tensions over connectivity, geopolitics, and relations with great powers, which is a euphemism for the great power competition, access to capital and resources. All not insuperable and fairly surmountable if the will is there. A most important thing that emerged out of this study was that there was a unanimity of view amongst Indian and Pakistani respondents on these, all the points which are on view foil. All agreed that we should start small, build trust. Maybe we can start EVECA with a research-based advocacy group of experts from all the countries that are going to be part of this corridor, and which should carry out studies, technical studies, advocacy studies, and build the stage for the next implementation stage. Then association of EVAC countries, I have already mentioned. There was complete agreement on objectives and partners. So whatever the government thinks in India, there was a consensus amongst the respondents that there's a need for this corridor, which is going to be a win-win formulation for all. Consensus and equity, because no country wants to dominate. So this was again a very interesting conclusion. So I come to end of this short introduction, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Rafiq Dosani for his quick take on this research. Please call Mr. Dosani.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dosani has joined us through Zoom. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce him. Mr. Dosani is a senior economist and professor of policy analysis at Rand School of Public Policy, USA. He works on Asian development and security, trade and technology issues. Previously, he was a director of Stanford University's Center for South Asia. Dr. Dosani, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, the floor is yours. You can address the audience now.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. Let me particularly acknowledge the presence of Minister Iqbal and other dignitaries to this event. Before I get started, and mine will be a pretty short presentation since Brigadier Rashid has covered most of the key points. I'd like to introduce two people who are on the call with me. One is Zohan Tariq, who's one of my co-authors, and I'll ask him to quickly introduce himself. Zohan?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zohan Tarek, and I'm an and I am a PhD student at the Rand School of Public Policy. I had the pleasure of working on this report with Rafiq, and a lot of my research focuses on energy policy, critical mineral supply chains, but I've been privileged to work on like a range of different areas at Rand, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Okay, thank you, Zohan. And I'd now turn to Zen Jiwanji. Zen is a member of the RAND Center for Asia Pacific Policy Advisory Board and played a role along with Junaid, whom I'll discuss a bit after this, after Zen introduces himself. Zen?
Assalamu alaikum. Zain Jiwaji. I live in Silicon Valley, originally from Karachi, and pleasure to be on this. Thank you, Rafiq.
Thank you, Zen. So this project was, like most projects at RAND, was conceptualized in a set of conversations that looked very interesting. In this particular case, Ansir Junaid, who promotes the Junaid Family Foundation, and I were discussing what could be done to bring countries together, and this idea came up in our discussion. He readily agreed to provide some finance for it, and the rest was provided by Zen and others who are members of the Center for Asia Pacific Policy Board. So that's how this project got off the ground. It took a while to organize the interviews. The reason is that we tried very hard, but the countries of the Central Asian republics, Afghanistan, going through turmoil, which was going through turmoil at the time, Iran, which was sort of difficult for us to access from, whether we tried from Pakistan, India, or the US. But then we realized that India and Pakistan are really the two key elements, the two key members of this EWEC, because without them, India with its size and demand, and Pakistan with its strategic location also growing, were critical. So we said, let's focus on India and Pakistan and see if that doesn't look good, we can't get anywhere. But if we can make progress in thinking about how India and Pakistan can work together, and unfortunately, recent history isn't a great supporter of that situation. But the whole idea of this was to see, really, do populist tendencies tend to be swayed by political tendencies? How do bureaucrats and policymakers and civil society really think? I have a couple of slides that I'll share with you. Then we can take questions after that. I hope you can see the slides. So as Brigadier Rashid pointed out, coordination, geopolitical issues, finance were all features that were going to be challenges to EWEC. If you looked at previous efforts, such as the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline, TAPI as it was called, failed because of lack of unity among member countries, great power intervention, and financial challenges. If you look a little further back at the Iran-Pakistan-India pipeline, that too failed for similar reasons. So, but then when we started doing the interviews, and we had a team in India and the team at IPRI and looked after Pakistan, here's what the interviewees said. So if you look at on priority for infrastructure, what you see in this this bar chart on the right upper side, in blue color is the ranking by India out of 5. How important is it? 5 being the most important, and I guess the orange is Pakistan. I was just thinking it as a joke that maybe I should have interspersed the two colors because the orange looks kind of saffronish, but that's just a joke. So, but if you look at it, you can see the great commonality of views. Energy and electrification, transport infrastructure, both ranked very highly among all the respondents from both countries, as well as you see, financial integration, which is a big thing because that requires a high level of trust and coordination. Industrial development and for resource extraction were ranked. Turning to who should be the members of EWEC, clearly There were some that had to be there, but still we asked, and here too you see the great commonality of views. You see that, pretty much there was agreement among Indian and Pakistani respondents on who should be the members. The Central Asian Republics, states, India, Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan. And that's how we conceptualize EWEC. Who should we partner with? EWEC should partner with which overseas entities of importance? Clearly the United States there, but I was surprised to see that China ranked higher than the US even for India. And Russia was higher than I expected for Pakistan. Japan, interestingly, had no takers from the Pakistan side. And then how do you finance the project? Well, ADB, which has a history of financing projects in Asia, not always very successfully. It was the banker for the TAPI project and fell through. AIIB, which is the China sponsored bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, now doing quite well. And of course, the World Bank. These three came out as the top finds. And then, this has already been covered by Brigadier Rashid, so I would not want to spend much time on it. The only thing I'd like to point out is that it takes time to build trust. And if you don't have internal trust within EWEC, you're not going to have the support of a bank or external partner countries, no matter how friendly you are with them. So we recommended a sequential agenda that trust building through small projects and equitable governance structure where even the smallest country has one vote, like the UN. Every country has one vote, and decisions would ideally be made by consensus rather than by majority votes. But if consensus fails, then voting can be used. Small projects, examples being the industrial parks that span the border of North and South Korea, which, in the good days of the early 2000s, this was done. And then, over time, if confidence can be built up in EWEC association, then it can act as a shield for political concerns. It can deflect them, just like ASEAN successfully does. It can help access bank finance and so on. So there's a lot of value. I mean, most of the associations that South Asia has tried to produce, whether it's BIMSTEC on India's east or SARC, South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, have been miserable failures. One has to admit that. So, but I think this was because what EWEC offers is a much more sensible approach. If you look at SARC, for example, the failure was because the objective was taken as the wrong one. It was taken to be poverty alleviation, and that was because Mrs. Gandhi at that time did not really want a SARC association. There was enough momentum for it among Bangladesh and Sri Lanka at the time promoting it, but because she didn't want it, then finally agreed, but insisted that poverty alleviation, which is really a goal of a country within itself, it's not a cross-border achievement or a target, should be the goal. So with the wrong target and of course the hostility between Pakistan and India over time, pretty much sank SARC, and it's never recovered since then. So that's why the initial governance structure, which should be equitable, which should empower EWEC association to do things, not like SARC where everything has to be decided by all the countries before anything can be done. So we think that the structure would make a big difference. And then let me end off by just saying that we came away from this study quite optimistic. To conclude, we write in the last sentence of our paragraph that even the more practical of politicians point to the populist views of their countries to justify discord and stagnancy whenever cooperation has been attempted in the region. This study's respondents, although they included senior policymakers and analysts from two adversarial states, disproved that notion with their remarkably similar and pragmatic views. So there is, I think, plenty of, if we take this as an honest effort to do something, there's a good chance of success. Okay, I think I've spoken enough, and I'm happy at this point to take any questions.
Anyone from the audience, does anyone have any question? Please, sir. Please hand over the mic to Ambassador Hisham.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for the invite, and it's lovely to be here back in April. I just have a couple of clarifications, shall I say, two or three. One is that how does East-West corridor that you have proposed compare in terms of economic gains versus the already existing CPAC or BRI? That's one. The other is, did you consider the maritime component of this corridor, where trade from other countries can come to Pakistan and transit to the Central Asian, Afghanistan, and other? The last question is that eh, despite the absence of East-West corridor, there's an opportunity to connect Pakistan with Central Asia through Afghanistan and our connectivity to the Middle East. That has quite a few prospects with respect to not only peace and stability in this region, but also huge economic gains, because that's the area where the resources are and where the fortunately money is. And with China backing CPAC, how does this your proposal compare? Notwithstanding that it's in my personal opinion, a no-no with respect to what India has done more recently and in foreseeable future, because we're living now. So whatever you propose should be implementable or beneficial in the short term and also in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good questions. Brigadier Rashid, do you want to take any or should I take them? Okay, let me start since he is not and hear him. So on the BRI CPEC interface with EWEC, yes, of course. So if you see the design of the EWEC, it's designed to seamlessly integrate with CPEC. You know, for example, the corridor, the M5 and the M9 that come down through from the north to the south to Karachi, the corridor that goes from the highway that goes under CPEC from Gwadar to Karachi. So all these will feed nicely into EWEC. And I remember that EWEC is not just a road; it's a rail. It's also in energy infrastructure, pipelines, and so on. So yeah, so that is my response to that question. Does that answer your questions, Ambassador? Okay, so your second question was, I remember your last one because you're talking about India and Pakistan, so that stuck with me. You know, we have to take a long-term approach. Even in the best of situations, you know, these are states that have had difficulty getting along. And it has to do with governance at the time, which changes. There have been moments in history, as you know, over the last 50, 60 years, where this has not been as much of a barrier as it seems to be today. But things like these, they may be difficult to get off, but once they get off the ground, they can be positive ways to actually improve the situation between countries. So, you know, I think it is difficult. We have to recognize that. You mentioned, which I'm not aware of, that there's some initiatives right now which are going on to build infrastructure between Pakistan and Central Asian republics pretty soon. I'm not aware of that, but presumably, Brigadier Rashid, if you please respond on that one.
Thank you very much, sir. And this ties up with your question about maritime component as well. Yes, there are proposals like Trans-Afghan corridor. Uzbeks are very keen. Pakistan has also shown interest. China has evinced interest. And this latest statement by Chinese foreign minister that we would like to connect CPAC with the Trans-Afghan corridor. So those intent and desire is there. And already some feasibility studies, pre-feasibilities have been done about Trans-Afghan railways corridor. But yes, the security situation is a big impediment. and your maritime components are all, everything would be leveraged maritime wise, because the double landlocked countries like Uzbekistan, if this corridor, Trans-Afghan corridor, links with our Arabian Sea ports, imagine the kind of economic benefits which will flow by way of maritime commerce and maritime trade. So that's our take on this.
If I may add on the
Thank you,
maritime
sir. We'll
side,
take any more question answers at the end of the session. We will now move on to the comments by His Excellency Yerzan Kistafen, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Kazakhstan to Pakistan. Please, sir, the floor is yours. Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Director Janjura, Honorable Director Raza, Honorable Minister Hassan Iqbal, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and very good afternoon. It is my great honor and privilege to participate in such a very important event dedicated to connectivity. So if you allow me, I will elaborate on our bilateral cooperation, then I will share with you some regional perspectives, and the third dimension would be dedicated to connecting the continents. So if we can have a map, please, Google map of Central Asia and South Asia. So when I just joined our mission back in June 2021, my team and I, we identified two main issues that we need to be focused on. The first one is lack of information. The second one is lack of connectivity. And these two issues are closely interrelated to each other. If you have a look at the map, you will see that Kazakhstan is being the 9th largest country in the world in terms of land, is also the largest landlocked country in the world. And in general, Central Asian region is a landlocked region. While as Honorable Dr. Janjua mentioned that Uzbekistan is a double locked country. And in this term, for Kazakhstan and in general for Central Asia, connectivity is not just another area of cooperation, but rather a top priority. I would even say that it's a matter of survival. This is why developing cooperation with Pakistan is so important. And within the last 4 years of serving in your beautiful country, I was, focused very much on developing connectivity between our countries. Another issue is lack of information. Unfortunately, we have to recognize that still our nations, our communities, our business people know little about each other, know little about the existing opportunities. And in this term, I must say that we are working hard to boost our bilateral trade, our regional cooperation. Because at the end of the day, connectivity is for, first of all, developing our trade relations. But I would say prerequisite to developing our connectivity is security and stability. And after 2021, what we see is that situation in Afghanistan is relatively stable. And let me share with you just two figures. Let's say something like 5-6 years back, bilateral trade between Kazakhstan and Pakistan was not more than, I would say, 40-50 million US dollars. Last year, our trade reached 239 million US dollars, and Kazakhstan, thank you. Kazakhstan became the largest trade partner for Pakistan from Central Asia. And it is first of all thanks to developing our regional connectivity. Last year, we got a breakthrough. We delivered goods from the northern part of Kazakhstan to Port Jebel Ali in Dubai via Karachi seaport. So we proved that this route is viable, operational, and efficient. Now what we need to do, first of all, we need to develop a secure environment for developing cooperation between our countries and in general in the region. This is why we are advocating for establishing a security dialogue between Kazakhstan and Pakistan and at our regional level. The second and a very important part of our cooperation is engaging other, neighboring countries, and first of all, Afghanistan. Afghanistan should be a very important and I would say integral part of our regional cooperation. Nowadays, I must say that it's very safe and secure to deliver goods via Afghanistan. We are in talks with the Taliban. And just last month, our Deputy Prime Minister visited Kabul. And it was officially announced that we are going to invest into constructing of a railroad connecting Kazakhstan with Pakistan via Turkmenistan and Afghanistan. So the reason why we're investing in this project, can we have a map, please? Is that in this case, what's here? So in this case, please have a look. We are connecting our countries through Turkmenistan. From Turkmenistan, you have access to the western part of our country. When at the same time, we are also working closely with our Uzbek brothers, and from Uzbekistan, we are developing connectivity with southeast part of Kazakhstan. Now, when it comes to this region, it is very important region because the western part of Kazakhstan is rich of oil, gas, minerals, and many other things. In this case, you would have the shortest route to deliver goods. The good thing about collaboration between Pakistan and Central Asia is that you have what we need and we have what you need. So we would definitely love to share our wealth, our energy resources with our brotherly country of Pakistan. And in this term, from Turkmenistan, we go to Afghanistan. Here is a point called Turgundi. From Turgundi, we go to Gerat, then Farah, then Kandahar, and from Kandahar, we enter Balochistan Chaman. While with our Uzbek brothers, we are working on developing another route, again through Afghanistan, but it will start in Termez. It goes to Mazar-e Sharif, Kabul, then to Peshawar. In this case, we have access to KP. Now, when it comes to cooperation between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, I must say that we have three main dimensions. Kazakhstan being located at the top of Central Asia, if we establish a well-developed connectivity, we will not only contribute to strengthening our bilateral cooperation, but we will also contribute to strengthening our regional cooperation, our regional integration, because these countries in between, I mean, be it Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, or Kyrgyzstan, they will enjoy this connectivity. The third dimension that we have in this term, we could connect continents. Pakistan could serve as a transit hub, which could connect Central Asia, and not only Central Asia, by the way, with the Gulf countries, with African markets, and with the Southeast Asian nations. Vice versa, Kazakhstan could serve as a regional hub, connecting you with so-called big Eurasia. Another very interesting fact, Kazakhstan and Russia shares the longest land border in the world. And the length of this land border is equal to the distance between London and New York. It is 7,600 kilometers long. So in this term, we can provide you access to all the countries in the regions. As you see, our biggest neighbors are Russia, China. We have as neighbors Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and via the Caspian Sea, our neighbors are Azerbaijan and Iran. And this is why it was announced that we will be developing this railroad. And as a first step, we are going to invest $500 million to implement this very important project. Last month, on the 28th and 29th of April, we had a delegation from Kazakhstan. It was, in fact, the largest ever delegation. 150 people visited your beautiful country. In Karachi, we organized the largest ever, again, business forum, more than 300 participants. And during one day, we signed commercial contracts and memoranda for more than $200 million. It was just one day. Well, 95% of those people who visited Pakistan, they visited your country for the first time ever. So when I spoke with our people from the business community, sports federations, we had, by the way, 10 leading universities who visited Islamabad. We held the first ever forum of universities of Kazakhstan and Pakistan. Then we organized education fair study in KZ. So I asked these people, so what do you think about Pakistan? And they were telling that before visiting Pakistan, we had no idea what Pakistan is. Now we understand that there is a tremendous potential. So this is why I say that we have to fill this communication gap. And unfortunately, what I see is that we underestimate to some extent the power of the media community. We should be also focused on developing cooperation between our media communities. Nowadays, unfortunately, we receive news about Pakistan from third sites, let's call it this way. And you receive news about Kazakhstan, again, from third sites. And I believe that most of the people have no idea what Kazakhstan is today. And this is why we need to develop collaboration between our media communities. And during our last Intergovernmental Joint Commission session, which took place in Islamabad, we signed an MOU on developing cooperation in information. And we are planning to establish offices of the PTV in Astana to cover the entire Central Asian region. And our leading TV channel is going to establish its office here in Pakistan to establish direct exchange of information in order to know the real situation on the ground. Unfortunately, during, for example, last conflict that took place between Pakistan and India, there was so information, fake news. So this is why it is extremely important nowadays, especially when we live in the 21st century, to have direct access to the real information on the ground. Another very important part is that we should also contribute to our people-to-people ties. Of course, the B2B interaction is extremely important, and I believe that the business community should be at the forefront of our bilateral and regional agenda. But apart from that, we have to raise awareness of our people about the existing opportunities, about the real situation in Pakistan, in Kazakhstan, in other Central Asian countries, because, on regular basis, I meet with my Central Asian brothers, ambassadors from Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Uzbekistan, all of our countries are willing very much to strengthen our ties with Pakistan. And we do believe that Pakistan can serve as a regional hub connecting our landlocked countries with other countries in the world. And in this term, the sky is the limit. This is why we're also in talks, with the government of Pakistan, and we are planning, inshallah, to sign very soon the TTA agreement, the transit trade agreement, to boost our transit potential. Apart from that, we're also working hard with our countries in the region. I mean, Central Asian region, we are focused very much on developing our regional connectivity. But in fact, in general, I must say that we are very well connected with each other. And now we're working with big logistics companies in Pakistan, with ENLC, with the TCS, with Faisal Movers, and many others. So we are planning to establish a consortium, transport and logistics consortium of Kazakhstan and Pakistan. During this visit that took place at the end of April, we invited the Minister of Transport of Kazakhstan, who is now co-chair of our Intergovernmental Joint Commission, and he sent his advanced team. This advanced team visited for the first time ever, by the way, Gwadar seaport, Karachi seaport, and Qasim seaport. And Minister himself, he visited Karachi seaport. Now our people understand. You see, this is what I mentioned when I said that there is a gap, there is a lack of information. You are investing into developing Gwadar seaport. Our people have never ever visited Gwadar seaport. So how can we assess our relations, our connectivity, if our people have never ever seen or visited this very important infrastructural projects? Apart from that, we are also focused very much on developing our energy cooperation. We established a joint working group on energy, and recently, last year, yes, it was announced that Kazakhstan is going to join the TAPI project. Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. And, in fact, what we believe in regional cooperation. As many experts say today that regional connectivity is the name of the game. And if you have a look at the European Union, for example, the largest trade partners of the European countries, they are immediate neighbors. And in this term, I believe that Central Asia and South Asia should develop this kind of collaboration. And even despite the fact that, for example, China and India, they still have issues. They still have disputes. But last year, China was the second largest trade partner of India, with if I remember well, 127 billion US dollars. So despite all these, issues that we face in the region, we should move, we should promote our regional agenda, we should develop our economic cooperation, and to some extent, I believe, this is my firm belief, that to some extent, it will contribute to stability process. And in this term, Kazakhstan was from the very beginning in favor of the diplomatic solutions, in favor of peaceful solutions. Our president stressed several times that we will be more than happy to facilitate any kind of peaceful negotiations. Our president also stressed that for Kazakhstan, regional connectivity is a top priority. And this is why we are focused very much. For example, with Iran, we managed to develop connectivity through the Caspian Sea. Now our top priority is to develop connectivity with Pakistan, and what we see is that there is a tremendous potential. Last year, for the first time ever, we delivered the sweetest mangoes in the world from Pakistan to Kazakhstan. In collaboration with the NLC, they provided kindly refrigerators. So I said that I refuse to leave Pakistan until and unless your mango is available at our local groceries, and I will enjoy this sweet, delicious fruit from your beautiful country. In fact, there are so many opportunities for developing our collaboration. I just shared with you these figures that our trade is $239 million. In December, I visited Karachi, and I met with people from the PBC, Pakistan Business Council, and they did a research on our bilateral cooperation, about our bilateral trade. And what they see is that, taking into account existing potential, our trade can easily reach $14 billion. And we are still, even not more than half of the billion US dollars. So 1 billion is a must. We are in negotiations with big groups from Pakistan. We, for example, only with one company, we identified 4 investment projects with a total cost 1.1 billion US dollars. So what I'm saying is that you are the 5th largest market in the world. And Kazakhstan and other Central Asian regions has vast resources. We will be more than happy to develop such kind of, complementary cooperation. And this is why I believe that even in terms of this great research, which was done by IPRI and RAND, it seems to me that we have to maybe launch another research with participation of our think tanks, because frankly speaking, what I see again, there is a communication gap. There is a kind of lack of information, because in fact, Uzbekistan today, and I'm sure that most of you people, you do not know that Uzbekistan is developing trade with India via Pakistan. Last year, I was approached by our business people from Kazakhstan saying that we have some goods to be delivered to Kazakhstan from India. So can you please talk to your Pakistani friends and arrange this delivery from India to Kazakhstan via Pakistan? Kazakhstan is also, by the way, part of One Belt, One Road initiative. More than 10 years back, President Xi Jinping announced this initiative in Kazakhstan. Why? Because Kazakhstan today serves as a very important part of the One Belt, One Road route, which connects the western part of China with the European countries. And nowadays, delivery time is 2 weeks in comparison to 40-50 days by sea. So we managed to develop railway connectivity from the western China via Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, and finally it enters the European market. So, we are trying to transform our country, as our president stressed several times, from a landlocked into a land-linked. So we are trying to transform our disadvantage into an opportunity to become a bridge connecting east and west. In fact, Kazakhstan was a bridge which connected different nations for centuries. Now we want to use this opportunity and to strengthen our connectivity. And what we do believe that it will be beneficial not only for Pakistan and Kazakhstan, but for the entire region. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency. I would now like to invite our last discussant before we hear from our Honorable Minister, Ambassador Dr. Raza Muhammad. Dr. Raza has held various command and staff assignments, as well as served in several ambassadorial roles, and he is also former President IPRI. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
All praises to Allah, the Almighty, most beneficent, most merciful. Honorable Minister, His Excellency, the chairman, BOG, Dr. Rashid Wali Janjua, acting president, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to stand here. And I'm grateful to IPRI for having invited me to say a few words on this wonderful work which has been done by them. I think all deserve appreciation, but I'll begin with Dr. Wali. Amina, very well done, a very good job done. Khalid Chandiyo कहाँ पे हैं? नजर नहीं आ रहे. Waleed, you. And who else was there? I am forgetting one name. Huram. Huram is not here. So I think it was a wonderful job done by the team IPRI. I would also appreciate IMPRI team and RAND and Diosani Sahib and his team for doing a wonderful job. I think it wouldn't have been possible if the family Junaid had not donated the funding, had not donated for this project, and also RAND had not contributed to it. Coming over to a few words which I want to say, this research is unique in multiple ways. Number one, as it has been pointed out by Dr. Rashid Wali Janjua, that it was done by the researcher on the both side of divide, having a very tenuous relationship with each other, and especially post 2019 showdown, although there was a ceasefire on the line of control, but there is no trade, and both the sides have downgraded actually the ambassadorial missions. Number two, it was unique in a sense that both or all the three research scholars, all the research scholars from the three institutions have never met each other. They never spoke to each other on this project, actually really discussed it, never been in a seminar or whatever. Another unique thing is that the research methodology which has been employed in it, excellent way to carry out a research by three countries and multiple people on a very, very important and very, very sensitive, I would say, subject. But another uniqueness is that the analysis and compilation was done by the third agency. Apparently, it is Pakistan in India, but actually main work of compiling this whole thing, analyzing this, proffering the recommendations was done by another agency or another institution. So this way, it becomes unique. And as Dr. Rashid Ali pointed out, there is a lot of commonality of ideas, or there is agreement between most of the authors, scholars, on one thing, and that is that we do need connectivity. We do need East-West economic corridor. The study also focused on the past corridors. TAP, it started off with the TAP, Trans-Afghan Pakistan. Then it became TAPI. But later on, it became only TAP again. It has become TAP again because India walked away. IPI, we ran through the problems. For a year, India was there. After a year or a year plus, it walked out. Good examples are there. That is the ASEAN, BRI, and CAREC, actually the Central Asian Economic Cooperation, which is working very well indeed. What I can point out here is that, as it has been highlighted, the internal influences or internal factors play a lot on the success, about the success of any such corridors. And while the other corridors succeeded, while the other associations have done well, SAARC has actually almost passed away. And it is just, वो क्या कहते थे, it is in the resuscitation room. It is in the ICU. I don't know how long will it breathe or will continue or rejuvenate or no. But the most important factor is all those programs, all those associations, all those corridors which became successful only because India was not there. There's no India in them. And secondly, there is no Pakistan-India rivalry there. Till the time we overcome this, I think there is going to be no successful, meaningful East-West economic corridor in this region. While Central Asia, China, Afghanistan may be willing to, Iran, and Pakistan are more than willing to connect. As the Excellency explained it very well, connectivity is the name of the game. And for socio-economic development of the whole region, there is no other way but connectivity, commonality of interest in the economy, trade, and so on. So coming over to the way forward, what do we need to do? I think, number one, as it has been proposed, let's begin with an association, equal partnership, equal membership, and start from low to high fruits. The environment has been further vitiated because of the standoff, you may say, limited war, you may say, between Pakistan and India in May this year. And it will take a little more time now, actually, to become favorable, or the environment will need time to become favorable. However, there are two silver linings which I foresee. Number one is the newer world order under Mr. Trump is transforming now. For him, the most important means of his toolkit are, for the international relations, trade and tariffs. And secondly, he is trying to end the bigger wars. He is trying to focus insight. He is trying not to spend on war, make peace. This indicates that during his term at least, and maybe in future also, the focus of cooperation by United States will revolve around geoeconomics in lead than geosecurity as it has been in the past. The second silver lining is the promises or the intervention by the international community, especially the United States, KSA, and other friends, to link Pakistan and India and convince them to sit and talk to each other. There is no way out unless we sit and talk to each other. I have always given this example that in the height of the Cold War, Washington and Moscow kept talking to each other, and they even concluded very, very important treaties in those times, including the stretch arm reduction and all that. Last 2 points. What do we need to do? Taking benefit of minister's presence here as a minimum, but we already have, we must capitalize on that. And we already have the connectivity with the Central Asian states. We already have Belt and Road Initiatives membership and CPEC. What we need to do is to actually optimize the benefits of the CPEC, and industrialization is the way forward. Operationalization of the special economic zones is the way forward. It will bring wealth, it will bring jobs, and it will also consume the extra energy which we are wasting now. Last point, I wish the Indian scholars could have participated in this discussion also, maybe virtually, and hope that they can do it in the next such conferences. Once again, Rashid and Ipri, keep it up, well done. You and your team, they deserve a lot of applause and appreciation. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with our keynote address by the Chief Guest, Professor Ahsan Iqbal, Honorable Minister for Planning, Development and Special Initiative.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Ambassador Raza Muhammad Saab, Ambassador Yerzan Tafin of Kazakhstan, Mr. Rafiq Dosani Saab, and distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here with you for the launch of this timely and important research report examining feasibility of an East-West economic corridor for South Asia and Central Asia. I extend my appreciation to IPRI, RAND Corporation, and IMPRI, as well as the generous support of the Junaid Family Foundation and the RAND Center for Asia Pacific Policy Advisory Board. At a time when the global economic order is undergoing realignment and new regional blocs are emerging, this study makes a very meaningful contribution to how we can conceptualize connectivity, cooperation, and coexistence in South and Central Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, historically, South and Central Asia have shared civilizational, cultural, and commercial ties for centuries. From Silk Road to the Grand Trunk Road, the region was once a hub of commerce, knowledge, and connectivity. But over the past 75 years, our region has unfortunately become one of the least integrated in the world. While other regions have become more and more integrated, South Asia has lagged behind in regional connectivity. Geopolitical tensions, particularly between Pakistan and India, have constrained what could have been one of the most vibrant and dynamic economic corridors on the planet. Yet, even as political borders have hardened, the logic of economic geography persists. Landlocked Central Asia needs access to global markets, just as Honorable Ambassador very profoundly highlighted through the map of the region. Pakistan, with its Gwadar and Karachi ports, offers a natural outlet. India, with its $3.7 trillion economy and manufacturing base, offers scale. And together, a functional east-west corridor could connect producers in India and Pakistan to consumers in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan, and beyond. Under our National Development Vision, Udan Pakistan, economic corridors with regional connectivity is not just a mere slogan. It is a strategic imperative. Pakistan is located at the cross-section of three engines of growth in Asia: South Asia, China, and Central Asia, with proximity to GCC countries. So this actually gives Pakistan a great advantage in connectivity of the region, because that places Pakistan at the heart of a 3 billion population for trade and commerce. Within the energy and infrastructure E of our 5Es framework, we have clearly outlined the goal to promote multimodal regional connectivity. In pursuit of this objective, our government is actively working to operationalize the CPAC 2.0 and Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation CAREC corridors, aimed westwards through Pakistan to the Central Asian republics. We are making sustained investments in rail, road, and port infrastructure to make these corridors not just feasible, but also functional. Our public sector development program dedicates the largest share of funding to infrastructure, logistics, and energy. We are upgrading border terminals, digitizing customs, building special economic zones, and expanding our transmission capacity. All of this will be leveraged to support any serious, credible effort towards regional connectivity. Our commitment is visible through tangible projects for upgrading Gwadar Port, to expanding ML1 railways, to digitizing our border crossings with Afghanistan and Central Asia. Yet, while we reach out with economic vision, some in the region retreat into strategic myopia. The idea of an East-West economic corridor connecting Central Asia, Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, and India is not new. But for it to become a reality, the idea must evolve from aspiration to actionable policy, backed by political will and mutual trust. The report rightly observes that infrastructure is not the bottleneck, politics is. And here lies the crux of the matter. Connectivity cannot thrive in an environment of coercion, occupation, and hegemonic ambition. Regional peace is the first prerequisite for regional trade. Pakistan stands for peaceful coexistence, regional integration, and mutually beneficial cooperation. Our foreign policy is anchored in geoeconomics, and our national development model, Udan Pakistan, places connectivity, trade, and sustainable growth at the heart of our strategy. We recognize the immense potential that regional corridors offer. A land-based east-west economic corridor could enhance access to Central Asia energy markets, promote trade, reduce transaction costs, and help address structural poverty across the region. But for that to happen, all states must act as responsible and willing stakeholders, respecting sovereignty, honoring commitments, and abandoning adventurism. A reality check on regional trust, and if we have a reality check on the regional trust, we'll see that regional connectivity is a two-way street. Corridors cannot grow while borders are blocked. Access to markets cannot happen with treaties suspended. And we cannot have regional stability while we engage in provocations. India's recent actions have once again brought to light an inconsistent and irresponsible posture towards regional integration. Instead of fostering regional integration, it has pursued a strategy of exclusion, unilateralism, and militarization. Its continued denial of the legitimate rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the unilateral abrogation of Article 370, and its obstruction to SARC processes have rolled back the regional integration agenda by decades. Despite benefiting from transit access to Afghanistan through Pakistani territory, and despite our facilitation of Afghan-India trade via Wagah in the past, it continued to escalate tensions rather than build trust. Most recently, India's unilaterally suspension of its obligations towards the Indus Water Treaty, a treaty that has endured since 1960, despite many wars between India and Pakistan. This reckless step reflects a troubling disregard for international norms and regional stability. Pakistan, on the other hand, has consistently demonstrated restraint, maturity, and commitment to economic decoupling from political tensions. Even during recent tensions, we did not suspend the Afghan transit trade for long and allowed its resumption shortly thereafter, a gesture of goodwill and regional responsibility. Pakistan has kept its doors open to dialogue, but normal relations cannot be restored in the absence of justice, dignity, and respect for international law. Economic corridors cannot operate in a vacuum. They require a foundation of trust. And trust, I must say, cannot be built with fencing, fire, or force. It must come through honest engagement, equitable treatment, and responsible statecraft. While others hesitate, Pakistan has already demonstrated what responsible regional leadership looks like. Through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, we have shown how strategic vision, political commitment, and institutional coordination can deliver real results. CPEC has given Pakistan a modern road network revitalized energy infrastructure, and deepened regional linkages. It has also created a blueprint for how multilateral connectivity projects should be designed transparently, inclusively, and sustainably. And now, with Carrick corridors directed westwards, Pakistan is uniquely positioned to serve as a bridge between South Asia, Central Asia, Middle East, and Western China. Let me also state clearly Pakistan welcomes the participation of all partners, regional or global, in the development of such corridors, so long as the engagement is grounded in mutual respect, shared benefits, and strategic balance. The success of CPAC shows that when partners share goals, respect sovereignty, and work collaboratively, even the most ambitious connectivity plans can be realized. I would like to here in this situation also acknowledge the leadership of President Trump for saving South Asia from a wider conflict and bringing an end to war and urging both sides to negotiate peace and peace through trade. I think it is a welcome initiative of United States. Ladies and gentlemen, some argue that current tensions preclude any economic engagement, but this reasoning does not stand the test of global precedents. Take the example, Ambassador gave example of China and India, and let me give another example of United States and China, two nations that have profound strategic differences and divergent worldviews. Yet they are each other's largest trading partners. They have managed so far to keep economics and politics on separate tracks by remaining engaged. The key is engagement. The difference, however, is critical. Neither side has escalated by violating sovereignty or unilaterally suspending binding international treaties, as India has done in this region. Our position is principled. We are open to trade, open to dialogue, but not at the cost of our sovereignty, dignity, or legal rights. The report being launched today proposes a series of phased steps towards an east-west economic corridor, which is a very pragmatic approach. Let me highlight a few that I strongly support. Start small. Confidence building measures such as digital connectivity, logistics standards, and academic collaboration can pave the way for broader frameworks. To create an inclusive governance mechanism, the idea of an East West Economic Corridor Association is worth exploring, provided it ensures equal representation and consensus based decision making. But here again, I would, support what Ambassador Raza Mohammed said, that we have example of SARC, and since 2016, SARC summit is hostage to India's non-cooperation, and it is not letting SARC summit take place, which was supposed to take place in 2016 in Pakistan. So it has been, obstructing. I always tell my Indian friends, what is the trouble? The trouble is that if you only had 1/4 the size of your geography, size of your heart, this region would be very different. So, unfortunately, we are caught in a situation where in India, political leadership uses paranoia about Pakistan for their domestic legitimacy. I've been in politics since 1993. It is 30 years now. And it is for the consideration of Dr. Rafiq Dosani that they might want to do another research project. That, if you look at the psychology of those countries in the world which have thousands of years of roots in history, no country has felt so insecure about itself like India feels insecure about itself. Pakistan, which has a history of only 77 years. Pakistan did not have any root in history, whether geographic or ethnic or any other root as a nation state. So we are just a 77-year-old state. But I do not recall a single election in Pakistan in my past 30 years where any Pakistani politician has used India card to arouse sentiments of the voters to get some political legitimacy. India has been absent from all our elections since last 30 years. All our elections are contested on local issues. But if you look on Indian side, you observe that on each and in each and every election, and before each and every election, whether national or state elections, they use Pakistan as a bogey or some kind of a hate card to get their domestic legitimacy. And that is why शायर ने कहा कि सरहदों पे बहुत तनाव है क्या, कुछ पता तो करो चुनाव है क्या. So every time there is चुनाव in India, सरहदों पे तनाव क्यों हो जाता है? Because the leaders in India still feel somehow that they need Pakistan bashing in order to get their domestic support or domestic legitimacy. Now, India is not part of our political discourse at all. We are a smaller country, much smaller country, and much newer country. And India has a history of centuries in history, is 7 times big, 1.5 billion population, and yet it feels so insecure that every time they are either nearing state elections or they are close to general election, they need to whip up this anti-Pakistan sentiment in order to keep their domestic base together or unified. So, I mean, I think what is this psychology? Maybe Rand Corporation needs to, undertake some research project and also educate itself, the world, and us also. So we would like to know that what's happening. Why is India carrying that insecurity in its national psychology, that it's so obsessed and paranoid about Pakistan? But I think time has come that, we must rise above these things, because it is not just India and Pakistan. It is future of the whole South Asia that is at stake. And unless we can resolve these issues and allow regional integration, prosperity will not come to this region. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the corridors we are speaking of are not just transport routes, they are pathways to peace, prosperity, and parity. We believe in regionalism that is based on respect, reciprocity, and responsible conduct. Pakistan will continue to act as a constructive player in this region, but we will not be coerced. We will not accept double standards, and we will not trade strategic clarity for short-term optics. Let today's event be a signal to our partners, neighbors, and the international community that Pakistan stands for regional peace, principled diplomacy, and economic inclusion. As Pakistan's Minister for Planning, I reaffirm my government's support for regional platforms that seek to build peace through prosperity. We welcome dialogue grounded in mutual respect. Our youth, the largest segment of our population, deserve a region shaped by hope, not hostility and warmongering. Pakistan remains a peace-loving nation. We believe that regional stability and economic integration are not just desirable, they are vital for our collective development. My call to India is, let's not compete on missiles. Let's compete on development and prosperity of our region. In conclusion, I commend the scholars and institutions who produced this valuable publication. It is more than a policy paper. It is a blueprint for peace building through connectivity. It reminds us that regional integration is not a gift. It is a courageous, strategic choice. Let us take that first step. Let us start small, but let's start together. May this book spark new conversations, deepen regional understanding, and inspire concrete action. I congratulate IPRI once again, RAND, IMPRI, and the research team for producing a thoughtful and timely study. May this effort lead to many more avenues of dialogue, development, and understanding. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, sir. I now request Acting President IPRI to present the book to the Honorable Minister. The contributors to the book from Pakistan are also requested to please come on the stage for the book launch. Thank you, everyone. The floor is now open for Q&A session. Please introduce yourself before asking the question and keep your question short. The floor is now open for questions and answers. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand and introduce yourself.
So, as we come to the end of this event, if you have a couple of questions, so we can field those.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Sahab. My name is Hassan Gilani. I work with Pakistan Television. As stated by Rafiq Dosani, that we have to take a long-term approach towards this connectivity. Issues that are very thorny today might not be as serious, say 10 years, 15 years down the road. But the elephant in the room seems to be Afghanistan as well. So what recommendations or suggestions would you be sharing, whether from the platform of AVACA, what needs to be done in order to make sure that Afghanistan is taken on the board and it is not posing a security threat, because it has been in a perpetual state of turbulence for decades. So how are we going to deal with this particular issue?
You see, AVACA is a concept that has been recommended in this report, which includes all the countries. Afghanistan would be a member of that. So as was recommended, we start small, phased manner. First, with a research and advocacy group, which would comprise all the representatives of Central Asian states, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan. So it is for Afghanistan to be part of that and take care of its internal security. Obviously, we have concerns. Without security, stability, Afghanistan, they are very keen to have this trans-Afghan railways corridor connecting, because they would naturally accrue the requisite transit rents out of that, and that is economically very remunerative for Afghanistan. Same is the case with the TAP. Afghanistan stands to gain a lot by way of transit fees. It is for its government, in fact. Yes, I agree that we have a government which, despite the statement of intent to connect CPAC with Central Asia through corridors in Afghanistan, but those statements of intent do not mean anything if they cannot ensure the stability and security. So we are optimistically cautious. I won't say skeptic about Afghan government's ability to ensure that stability, but of course, everything is contingent upon that.
Ilani Sahab, I think you have rightly identified the problem. As you said, elephant in the room. I won't say it is really elephant in the room, but there is a problem. Unless Afghanistan is stable, no connectivity will work. And especially when we want to actually capitalize on Pakistan's position as a melting pot of connectivity, and the CPAC, the project, which is already, as far as the infrastructure is concerned, is already constructed. I think there are 2 points I would like to make. Number one, Pakistan and Afghanistan. We cannot actually separate each other with surgery. We're very closely linked. We were discussing, Ambassador Durrani is here, just before the event we were discussing. There are 17 tribes which live along the border, and they live on that side of the border, also this side of the border. They have their happinesses together, they have their feuds, they have their enmities, they have their trade going on. So it is one situation, language and other things, the traditional bond and all that. So we cannot actually do a surgery, and Afghanistan cannot be really separated from Pakistan. The best way is to work out a relationship which is happier for them, happier for us. And the best way to do this is the trade. Instead of having this thought that we need to have some favors from Afghanistan, have some influence on Afghanistan. Instead of that, let's develop the working relationship. Pakistan has already given them the access to India through road. Initially, it was one way, and I think it has been decided that it is going to be two-way traffic now. I mean, they will be able to bring their goods through Pakistan to India and take the goods from India back to Afghanistan through Pakistan. I think this will develop kind of mutual confidence in both the countries. More importantly, Afghanistan needs it more than Pakistan needs, because Afghanistan is, again, as it was said, that it is a landlocked country. और उनका जो सारी उम्र का रहा है, the focus has been on as a राहदारी. 1500 AD तक South Asia, West Asia, and Central Asia, they were very well connected. It is only the colonization and post-colonization era where we had the problem. Post-colonization, it was in 2011 that Hillary Clinton gave this idea for the first time, the new Silk Roads. It did not have appetite perhaps in the Washington, and if Mr. Deosai is here, he can comment on that also. But China picked it up, and they announced the BRI then. So I think there is a lot of potential. And last point, recent meeting, tripartite or 3 countries meeting in China, between China, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, I think, again, as I said, is a silver lining. And I hope that things are going to be better and stabilized. Thank you.
Brigadier Rashid,
just to build on what
if I may
Brigadier
add
Rashid
something.
and General Raza said, first of all, again, we have to make them stakeholders in this entire project, number one. when they will be the stakeholders, they will be part of the the benefits, whatever we have to get out of that. Number one. Number two, these term security challenges it's quite broader. On one side, internally, I think Taliban or the interim government is capable enough to secure whatever going through from Afghanistan. But we have to be, also be mindful of the sabotage attacks from the hostile groups, for example, TTP or Daesh or anyone else. So in that case, the participating of the countries in this East-West economic corridor should have some kind of a joint mechanism to develop to cater those challenges about the sabotage attacks.
Brigadier Rashid? Hello?
Sorry, sir, please.
Hi, if I may add that, for a can you hear me okay?
We can hear you quite clearly.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So I wanted to add something I think is important, that for a country that went through so much turmoil over the last 2 decades, I think Afghanistan's recovery has been quite remarkable. If you look at, its trade figures, control of inflation on the macroeconomic side, excellent progress. And with regard to this pipeline, they have already said that if TAPI is revived, they would like to, play their fair share. I mean, they can't afford to pay, but Turkmenistan, they can work out a financing arrangement which has been offered. So I would take those as positive signs, considering how much difficulty they've gone through in the last 2 decades. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have any more questions?
Sure.
So I assume we don't have any more questions. I would now like to invite Acting President IPRI, Dr. Janjua, for his vote of thanks.
So, in the end, I thank all the participants, especially our Chairman, Board of Governors, Ambassador Inam, Excellencies, our former President, Ambassador Dr. Raza, Vice Admiral Hasham, for a very, very patient and active participation. It encourages us a great deal, seeing a prestigious organization like RAND cooperating with IPRI and putting Pakistan on the map of research by way of this research report. And I'm sure this would be a beginning of many such collaborations in the future. We look forward to all our mentors to give us proper institutionalized inputs so that we can further refine this study and maybe certain follow-up studies. So I once again thank all of you for a very, very absorbing and patient participation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And special thanks to Dr. Dosani and his team. Dr. Dosani, we are indeed very grateful for all that you did. And we hope that we continue this collaboration in future as well.
Yes, this will stay in our minds. It's 1:45 in the morning here, so I'm glad we could attend.
And then we are doubly grateful to you. And how's the weather there?
I'm sure it's cold because it's dark, but otherwise not bad, yeah.
We are very grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, Zain also.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.